must be tired of all this DRM stuff and home networking and whatever. But we're going to try it one more round. We have a group of distinguished gentlemen here from various companies in various fields. Unfortunately, we don't have Mr. Anthony Woods, who was advertised. He is the CEO of Roku, and he was going to speak as well today, but he couldn't make it after all, so apologies for that. I am Peter Kars. I am a Director of Business Development with Philips Electronics, that is. I'm also the Chairman of the Content Protection Subcommittee in DLNA. For those not familiar with DLNA, that's the Digital Living Network Alliance. What's in a name? Sometimes you run into trademark issues and then you dream up some name. But a digital network is basically what we're doing, and it's live and kicking, so I assume it's accurate. But what we try to do is make agreements, make guidelines of how to use existing standards in such a way that if you make two devices that are complying to the guidelines, they will actually work together. If you would take standards like UPnP or MPEG-2 or whatever, you could perfectly make compliant devices and then still not be able to talk together. And we're trying to resolve that by writing guidelines on top of that. And today I'm also your moderator. To my right is Brian Hofstetter. Brian, could you introduce yourself?
Yes, I'm the Director of Marketing for the Connected Entertainment Group at Zoran Corporation. For those of you who may not know Zoran, our chips are in probably most of the toys that are in your living room or that you carry with you. If you have a digital camera, we're the largest maker of digital camera chips today. If you have a DVD player, we make about 1 in 3 of the DVD chips that are in the world, HD TVs, cell phone technology, and also digital printers. Now we are looking to drive the digital experience with consumers by making all of those devices I just mentioned connected and to be interoperable with each other and connected to the internet.
Okay, thank you. To your right is Gaben Chancellor. Gaben?
Yeah, I'm the CEO and Chief Design Director of Videeba. Our charter is to bring a premium quality user experience to the CE space, which has been sadly lacking in this environment. I've started kind of deep in the print world and grew into the consumer electronics world through the internet tools and higher-end applications, working with Dolby Laboratories, Intel, Apple, et cetera. We're looking at a world where in the past the CE manufacturers have put the user interface and the user experience at the back end of the need. And now as we bring those tools forward, the DVD player no longer has the interface on the player itself is going to become more important than the interface on the disk that came to it. And as people work into the connected environment, the complexities of the user interface are going to grow as the richer feature sets intersect with all the different kinds of devices and the change that the connected space was going to bring. So we're looking at a world of complexity that needs to be as simple and as user-friendly as possible. And those issues will drive many of the issues within this space itself.
Thank you very much. On your right, Brett Hunt.
Hi, I'm Brad Hunt, Chief Technology Officer for the Motion Picture Association of America, which is the trade association of the 7 major studios here in Los Angeles. I work with the studio's technical and legal executives on content protection and anti-piracy issues, policy making. We also work with outside technology vendors in the area of content protection, digital rights management technologies, help them refine their technical specifications, assist them in the non-economic licensing terms associated with those content protection technologies. We have a staff of a couple engineers, 3 attorneys, technology counsel that help us in those activities. We also participate in a number of content protection standards activities like the DVB Content Protection Standards Activity, Digital Living Network Alliance, Coral Consortium, things that you probably heard this week. We're actually a member of the Consumer Electronics Association involved in CEA standards. Also work very closely with Cable Labs. So we get involved in a lot of these types of issues and help and assist in the kind of cross-industry dialogue, communications, negotiations on these content protection issues. I'll conclude by saying that content owners are very interested in enabling the digital home and digital home networking because it's really important for the home to be networked, to be able to move content around the home, to be able to facilitate the consumption of content. Digital home networks also enable new gateways for content to be delivered to the home. We have a number of ways to do that today with things like cable set-tops and satellite receivers, but content owners are really interested in enabling the new business models associated with broadband connectivity, download to stream, download to own, and digital home networking really facilitates the movement of that content through a gateway throughout the home where consumers are used to consuming content. So we're very supportive and actively involved in standard activities like Digital Living Network Alliance, the DVB, copy protection standards, and Coral.
Thank you, Brad. To the right, Richard Bullwinkle.
Hi. I was head of products at TiVo for 5 years and then got stolen away by Replay TV to try to clean up their mess, and then went to Rio Audio and built MP3 players, and now I'm at a little startup called Mediabolic, which is growing quite out of its startup stage. We sell several million devices a year that help people store their content either on network-attached storage devices or their home PC and help distribute it around the home to what we call digital media adapters or digital media players. We're a member of DLNA, we're a member of CEA. We focus on all kinds of equipment, all kinds of entertainment media, whether that be personal media, your personal photos, your ripped CDs, hopefully legally ripped, or whether that be content protected media such as DRM media of all different kinds. We certainly are trying to set the stage and also set standards to make that extremely easy for consumers. Consumers don't give a damn about DRM. If you ask them what their features that they look for are, they are a number of things playing all different kinds of media, but they certainly don't know why they want DRM. It is our job to make that seamless, and I think everybody on this panel would probably agree with that. And I hope that our focus will be, among other things, how to make that seamless for the consumer, because they just don't care.
Okay, thank you, Richard. That gives a good segue to the focus that I would like to choose for this panel, and that is looking at home networking, looking at content protection issues from a consumer's perspective. So we heard the requirement that it should be seamless, so maybe there is no perspective from the consumer at all because it's invisible and everything is basically behind the scenes. We are with a relatively small group on the stage as well as in the audience, so let's make it an interactive session. So if you have questions, don't hesitate to stick up your finger and we'll find a spot for your question. This panel was pitched as talking about the fully digital home. I don't know, a lot of you probably start making a little bit of a digital home. I don't know exactly where that will end up to be a fully digital home, but we were curious to know from you in the audience, how many of you have actually installed a home network? Okay, that's quite some. And how many of you use that home network for entertainment content? That's already a lot less. And how many of you have tried to install in that home network a digital media adapter? Fortunately, still a few. And for how many of those was that successful?
One.
And
We'll be offering support later.
Yeah, right, exactly.
do you actually know, how many of you do actually know what a digital media adapter is? Oh, that's fortunately a little bit more. But are you aware that, for example, TiVo, I heard TiVo there, is a DMA? Do you know that Xbox 360 is actually a DMA? Do you know that the PlayStation Portable is a DMA? The Philips Streamium products are DMAs. So those could actually work in that network environment. But you see very clearly, you have, most of you have a network, but then, well, doing entertainment, and now it's getting a very small crowd of those really enjoying the benefits of the fully digital home. And that brings me to my first question that I want to put forward to the panel. When there's this discussion between content owners and content service providers and technology companies like my own company making consumer electronics devices, there's always this back.
So these are the types of systems that we're talking about designing at Zoran, and we actually are beginning to design, direct connected devices that don't require a PC. If there's a PC there, it's great to leverage it. But if there's no PC present, the consumer should still be able to use it and have an excellent experience with sharing their pictures or getting their movies or listening to a catalog of music that might be supplied to them now on a monthly payment schedule, and you get to listen to the entire catalog of music for $4.95 a month or whatever the price may be, which is a model that simply wasn't available in the fixed media world. You might get more diversity and more opportunities through such a model than
some of the standards activities that we're involved in, that the MPA is involved in, the DVB, I mentioned the Digital Video Broadcasting Projects, content protection standards activity is actually addressing what we call authorized domain, as content is bound to the authorized domain, which is your collection of devices that you own. So there's work going on in the standards area to be able to facilitate distribution channels that could actually deliver content, bind it to a domain, let the content move, where it needs to move, whether it be locally or could go out over a wide area network. But there's still some challenges in terms of really being able to implement that fully.
If you think about the seamlessness of what you're talking about, Brad, is that you should be able to order a movie while you're maybe waiting for something out at a shopping center and you're watching a little bit of some program, some movie that you thought you might be interested in on your cell phone. You stop that movie, get in your car, drive home, and by the time you get home, the movie's there in a much higher resolution, already loaded onto your system and paused at wherever you left off so that you can just continue to enjoy it in the same way that you would have had you purchased it and carried it with you.
So that question went away? You still have your question?
It's really kind of a question for Brad, which is, here's my source of confusion. When you buy a CD, the RIA is on record saying that it's not considered fair use to have that in any digital storage. You're allowed to have it in its physical form. This is recent. This is a
Yeah. They say it's an authorized usage, which means the content owner authorizes your ability to do that. That's what I just heard that statement also today. So.
This is about 3 or 4 weeks old. So basically, they reversed their position that
Right.
fair use does not include a digital format. So does the MPAA consider that your digital storage of DVD purchase is actually yours? So really, the notion of the question is what you actually own when you buy something.
Right. Well, the first fact, when content owner, when a motion picture content owner releases content on a DVD, the DVD is copy protected, okay? So that no additional copies can be made of that. I mean, there is a protection technology called the content scramble system that's used to actually bind the content to that piece of plastic, okay? And the consumer is informed of that. It says it's copy protected. There's a logo that has actually been developed that, again, conveys that. And the idea is that the content owner is pricing that delivery of the content with the assumption that you're buying it for this price, and the price is you get this piece of plastic with the content locked to it, and you're not allowed to make another copy of it, okay? Now, as I said, 10 years ago, that might have made sense. Today, with devices like portable media players, like media servers, content owners know that consumers want to do more with that content. They would like to take their movie collection. They would like to buy a DVD movie and not only play it from the piece of plastic, but potentially move it to a portable device to take it with them, or to move it to a media server so that they can use a very, slick user interface, okay? But the idea is that that has to be part of an offering that is made by the content owner, because it's an additional right to make a managed copy. And so the idea is that you use DRM and content protection to basically facilitate the most efficient transaction between the content owner and the content consumer. And so in this case, you get to buy the piece of plastic, it's locked to this. If you want to make a managed copy, then that's another offering, and then you would have potentially a transaction associated with that, or potentially on a going forward basis, if it made sense that most people are going to make a managed copy, it may be built into the price of that DVD so that you get, for example, a free first managed copy of that disc, and maybe there's some, for example, some serialization of the disc so that you can keep track of how many copies have been made from this disc, so that I can, defend against the rent copy and return attack, where you're really not buying the disc and it's managed copy right, but you're just renting a disc and making a copy. So these are the things that, for example, the Advanced Access Content System Licensing Authority, they've been working on this for the next generation HD DVD and Blu-ray disc. And these are the kinds of things that content owners believe, we need to work out. How do you do this with DVD?
But that sounds like we're adding other usage models to that original simple model that we started out with. If you have a piece of plastic, you know what you can do with it. Somebody said, if I have a CD, it plays in every device that has a CD drive. So then, again, the challenge comes back, and I ask myself, is it possible to balance the effective protection in an easy-to-use way? Does it scare the consumer away because it makes it more complicated?
I tell you, it's not a model maybe that will be embraced, but it's a model that I personally appreciate, and that is you could release a whole movie in an extremely low resolution format, and a person could therefore get and watch that movie. And I believe that they would be compelled to actually purchase a movie of that nature, or even a soundtrack of that nature, to get the full resolution file size. And that might be a variant on something that we might see in the future.
Well, given what you're saying essentially is what's starting to happen with cell phone delivery and portable deliveries. Those are low res versions of full-length content. So when you're buying a UMD disc for your Sony PSP, you're buying a low-res copy. Now in that case, because it's a disc model and it's bound to plastic, the pricing was out of whack with what we're trying to do. But now when you take a Verizon subscription with your cell phone, I think today you have to buy about a month. You get a month's worth of video download, and those are much cheaper than they would be if you ordered them on pay-per-view, with your cable box at home.
And the content owners are also pursuing this. There was a recent announcement by, I think it was Universal, that's doing the download service. You buy the DVD through it's a European, it's sort of like the European Netflix. You buy the DVD and you get a download in a lower resolution form for a portable media player. So, I think these are the kinds of things that are happening that content owners recognize that consumers want to consume this content in new manner and on new devices, and we have to respond. Or they're going to find that content. It's all out there for free. We recognize that. So,
well,
there was a question over there. You want to follow up on that?
Yeah.
At the risk of asking a rather mundane question and getting back into the networking part of home networking, would like to ask if there could be some commentary by the panel on what you see in terms of the evolution of technologies in the home networking area. Gav made a very good point. The consumer is expecting to see what they've expected all along, which is essentially DVD quality, CD quality audio. Today, when people talk about networking, they think, well, I've got Ethernet running around and I'm happy with the height of 802.11. But the realities are that we're moving into more HD content, we're moving into much more video content. There's plenty of technologies that are talked about. Interested in the input from those of you on the panel about what technologies you see as being viable longer term in terms of the actual home networking.
Let's talk to the chip guy here.
Yeah. We think a lot about this at Zoran, and it's one of the areas we're actively involved in, obviously, for the products that will come out in the near future and also in the further along future. To address your point sort of with some example, for a person to spend the money to add a multimedia network into their home, they're going to have to get not only the baseline that Gabe and Brad were outlining that's echoed in the prior models, but you need new features and new rich technologies, rich media to be coming into the system. And so we start to see a situation where the connected devices are not one-way devices like we have today. We have a device in the house that's a set-top box, and an MSO sends us a movie, whether it's at a specific time of the day or it's video on demand. That's a one-way system. That's not really a true network system. And if we just add more of those by saying, okay, now we're going to have one-way connections to our DVD player or to our digital camera, that doesn't really add anything. So what I'm speaking about is the ability to have the network be two directions and be sharing content, be sharing personal content, be sharing recommendations for content, having rich content where I'm watching a movie and I get to actually open a window or open a text, discussion area below. I happen to watch Lord of the Rings sections over and over and over. I don't know if any of the rest of you watch particular movies where you watch a section and you want to, I'm quite interested in how it was done. And if I could have other people who are interested in that film chatting along the bottom, that would be a much richer experience, and nothing like that exists today where I can, talk with the other fans of a particular motion picture or a particular album, something like this. So when we start to have a network, we start to be able to combine the experiences that we like in an internet computing world with the experiences that we like in our living room as a pure entertainment form.
Richard?
I want to respond truthfully. At Mediabolic, we sell a heck of a lot of devices that have 802.11b, some with G. The fact is, content is king, and until there's a great resource for HD movies that you can download legally, consumers don't know that they want to play HD movies yet. They don't know that they want to download them. They don't know that that's the sort of content they want to be playing, because really, if you go to any of the online sources today for movies, they're all actually sub DVD quality. They're not even true DVD. They might have DVD video, but they probably don't have an AC3 track, a full audio track. So what we see is a heck of a lot of consumers buying subpar networking devices, and they're just fine for photos, and they're just fine for music. They're almost good enough wirelessly for video, but what always happens is that they call customer support and say, I'm getting choppy video or whatever, and we say run an 802.11, run a Cat5 cable, an Ethernet cable, they plug it in, and their video is no longer choppy. So I do think there's a dearth in the technology for wireless transmission of high quality content.
Well, accepting that that's the reality given the state of content today, the question is really, what do you see as a roadmap in terms of technologies? Anything in particular, or any experience or feelings about HomePlug, about evolutions of other wireless technologies, evolutions of cable technologies within the
I'll answer the interface issue, but I also want to touch on the link protection, the content protection issues, because I think they're just as important. I think since most of us don't have 1394 cable running through our house, whatever, and many of us don't have Ethernet cable running through our house, that wireless technologies are going to be important for home networking. And although they pose challenges for high def content, certainly they can be made to work with standard def content. So I think in the near term, I think wireless technologies are going to be that could again enable network DVD content moving across a wireless network with Windows Media DRM for network devices. Also, ND is also interesting because it could actually support some of the Windows Media DRM protected content that would come through broadband online service. So those are the technologies. I think beyond those kind of link encryption technologies, because they basically require DRM or conditional access descrambling or decryption of the content, and then link encryption to the thin client that's on the network. I think there is work going on within the DVB that may have more flexible content protection technology protocols that could be developed that go beyond just link encryption to do some of the things like we were talking about, domain management. And there's also, I think, potential for the work that's going on in the Coral Consortium to create some interoperability solutions at a DRM level so that content could be persistently protected and then decrypted and rendered at the the end device. So I think there's a lot of work, but the two technologies I mentioned for content protection are the ones that are really the leaders in this area. That's, again, my opinion. That's my view of the marketplace.
Brian, you have to add to that?
Well, I was going to go back to the line of thinking of what will we see in the future, and what are the benefits we get from a connected home and a networked environment. And I think a parallel that could be interesting for all of us to consider, if I can kind of take us through a thought process here, is if you look at the success of the iPod, you know, what did people really resonate with? I mean, certainly a certain amount of people resonate with the I'm cool and trendy and part of a group. But I think the biggest resonance was coming from, I have all my media, all my music with me wherever I am. I can have my entire collection, or if I'm, you know, a huge collector like Gabe, and maybe a good chunk of my entire collection with me. And if you think about the amount of work an iPod user still has to go through to do that, they still have to either take all those little plastic discs, and we were talking the first day about, you know, how much work it is to transfer all of your CDs into a digital domain, or they have to buy, you know, a large number of dollars worth of content. I think somebody was talking about iPods now are worth about $10,000 fully loaded, $20,000 fully loaded. So, you know, if you can also all of a sudden consider through this thought process that if you didn't have to do all that ripping of CDs, and you didn't have to spend that very large amount of money to acquire access to such a library, you should be even more pleased with the type of entertainment experience that you can get. And that's what a networked home will do for you. You know, all of that library content can be available through centralized servers. All of your media that you purchase over time, you know, no longer has to be purchased in hard copy media and then work done with it at a workstation, which is your PC. So the networked home should eventually deliver that kind of experience where you get the benefits of owning an iPod from just having the products, as opposed to having to do the work that's involved in migrating all of your media to that iPod. I particularly like the model where, you know, I've got all of my media in a central server, and I'm driving to work. Well, I have all of that available because my car auto-updated with my central server. But while I was driving to work, I happened to listen to my satellite radio and heard a new song that I wanted the album from. I bought it from the car, but when I get home, I listen to it at home just because of the auto-synchronous, you know,
Try
capability.
not to get into an accident.
Yeah. Well, it should be one touch, right?
So when I listen to this panel, it seems that there is still a lot of experimentation going on. I mean, the usage models are uncertain. The type of wire or wireless network to run through your home is uncertain, and a lot of technology is still coming. So, sort of as a closing question, what big experiments or important experience or most likable experiment do you see coming in the coming 2 years? Like to start with Richard.
Well, I'm really glad to see Brad here because I'll say it again. I believe content's king, and I'm not going to sell a single device until my users are going to be able to download King Kong legally, legitimately, and easily, like they can buy things at iTunes. That's what made the iPod popular among a large group of people, because a large group of people were not going to sit there and rip their CDs and create content to put on their iPod. I would say initially that's not true. The iPod was originally driven by illegal content, but now it's not. And so I'd like to see a lot of content available, and I'd like to see a lot of marketing available so that people realize that they can have great content in any room of their house, wirelessly or wired, I don't care, but buy more stuff. And it really takes content to do that. And that's, I think, the biggest initiative is to get all the content that people want available, including Led Zeppelin 4 and a few other things that aren't available.
Brett.
It's kind of a hard question because there's a lot of things I'd like to see, and I'm also one of the people that kind of challenge my member companies about their thinking about looking at the future and really how do you embrace the digital transition, if you will. I think the one thing that's on my mind right now that I think is really important is the whole concept of managed copy of pre-recorded media. I'm still one of these people that I still enjoy buying a DVD. I enjoy having it on my library. I like to be able to pull it out. But I know that I would also love to be able to have a media server that I could actually take my DVDs, put them on,